We're only quoting one movie, Tim.
You know what I realized I don't have from this movie? A
What's
can
that?
koozie. Why don't I have a Ghostbusters can koozie?
I don't know why you didn't mail me your extra proton pack.
It's in the corner.
God
It's I
damn
had to
it.
dust it. Oh, I'm sorry. So we all watched Steel Magnolias like we were supposed to.
We did watch Steel Magnolias.
Good.
Scott,
Scott,
did you watch this movie?
hold on. Are we starting? Because that's a question for when we start.
If Scott watched the film, that's the
Yeah, it
question.
absolutely is. That's part of our bit now.
It absolutely is.
All right, go ahead. Start us out there, Steven. Let's do this.
Welcome to the Subtle Nerd Podcast. Today we are going to be discussing the 1984 film Ghostbusters, uh, near and dear to all of our hearts, most notably to Tim's heart, or Venkman's.
Yes, have
We are
some.
we're delighted to get started. My name is Steven.
I'm Tim.
Every time, every
Where
time,
is he? Where is he?
every time
I I don't.
we can dub it in.
We are here with
I'm
the spirit
Scott.
of Scott. He's really not there. All
We
right.
gave
Well,
him one job. One job.
for a little behind the scenes trivia, maybe for this episode, Scott is not feeling very good. He's got an upset tummy and he's got a stuffy nose and he's coughing and he said didn't want to shit into the camera. So I'm not really sure what that meant.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah. Scott doesn't feel very good. So we're going to give him a break tonight. Not really. No, we're not.
We're not going to give him a break at all, but
No, no, not at all. He's noticeably absent for one of my favorite movies of all time. This he shan't be living down.
he shot. Won't believe
All
it.
right.
I can't believe it.
So
I shan't believe it.
so what I want to ask, when was the last time we've watched this movie? Obviously we didn't watch it together. But when was the last time we all watched the movie?
I watched it 2 nights ago.
I think
Before
you
that,
win.
it has been, I want to say, probably a decade and a half. It has been a smidge since I've seen this.
How? How did you go that long?
Tim, I don't have a really good answer for you. I'm sorry. I,
I
I
wish you did.
really, I really do not.
Hmm.
That's but I tell you what, watching it 2 days ago was really
Mhm.
cool. And since it had been so long since I've seen it, picking up all of the extra little details this go around was just a delight.
There's so much in there. Thank you, Scott. That's what he was doing. He was taking 20 minutes to find the most perfect vision of Lewis Tully.
And thank
Yeah,
God.
there's a lot of small details that only adults would get. Like when this movie came out in 84, 85, it's really one of the first movies I remember watching as a kid. And well, I'm going to quote another Bill Murray movie. It scared the dickens of me. It really did. I couldn't finish it.
Really.
I truly remember getting to the part where the terror dog first starts to go after Lewis in the apartment. I couldn't
It's
get past
rough.
that.
And seeing as a kid, I mean, yeah, in
As
the 80s when the special effect, like
Yeah,
watching it 2 days ago, the special effects are like, ooh.
right.
But watching it in the 80s
Some
at
of them
the
still hold up.
pinnacle, the pinnacle of 80s special effects, yes, that was horrifying.
Hmm. So the last time, to answer my own question, the last time I watched this movie, less than 2 months ago, we had just gotten back from us being at the beach. And I brought it with me so we could all watch it, but we ended up watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit instead, which I'm not complaining about at all, as that's another fantastic movie. But yeah, I just had the itch. I wanted to watch it again. I've seen this movie there's a good chance I've seen this movie more than any other movie in my lifetime.
This one.
There's a really good
Okay.
chance. Yeah, Ghostbusters. This
Okay.
is such like I have been quoted as saying this movie, every line is almost comedic genius. Like there's even the improv from not just Bill, but from some of the other characters too. Um, the improv in it is so perfectly placed, and Ivan Reitman keeping the cuts that were improv and not scripted. So I mean, everything just fit perfectly for this movie. Um, should we take a chance and see if Scott's listening to us right now? Scott, when was the last time you watched the movie?
Maybe like 3 years ago.
Oh, all right. Scott's here with us, folks. Hey, could you do us a favor and say I'm Scott so we can edit that in?
You're not going to edit it in.
I'm not going to edit it in.
No, he's not. I just wanted to be a dick.
I'm a sailor. I'm in New York.
Get this guy laid. We'll have no problem. Cut. We get this guy laid. We'll have no problem. There. Print that one.
Cut. Print.
So
giving you guys gold here.
While we have Scott with us, because a big part of me feels like he's going to bail before the end. Scott, any good memories, any fond feelings for this movie?
For sure. I mean, I think it was one of the, geez, I mean, we watched this all the time when I was younger. And yeah, I just remember always even watching the edited for TV versions and stuff too.
Yeah, those are different. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's some differences for sure.
Yes.
I want to say like some of the, I don't remember exactly. It's been 35 years, but it was wasn't even like the librarian cut out in the TV edit. Like they had her scream, but they cut her out of the cutscene, if I remember correctly, in one of the versions I was watching.
That's possible. I know they cut out some of the language. I remember seeing some, I don't know if it was bonus footage on like the disc or anything, but that whole scene in the mayor's office, they kind of redid, like they re-recorded. Like it's not just a different voice or anything. They redid the whole scene so Bill Murray can. What did he say? It wasn't dickless. Do you guys remember what he said?
He did not say that.
It's true, Your Honor. This man has no dick. He didn't say that in the TV version, but I don't remember what he called him. One of us needs to look that up before the end of this episode.
I'll take that job on.
Thank you, Scott. I thought he was referring to me. I'm like, God damn it, Tim.
Thanks, Tully. All right, so man, there's so much information I have about this. I had this. Let me show you my stack. Like this is the stack I finished with.
Okay, good.
I had probably triple this that I printed, not from school because that would be stealing paper. I had a stack much larger than this that about an hour ago I went through and kind of brought it down as far as facts go.
How big his stacks are. It's getting a little out of hand.
Not rack, stack. So tell us, Stephen. Tell us about the conception. Oh, here.
It's true, Your Honor.
When a man loves a woman,
some kind of rodent.
Oh, rodent. That's right. Do you have? There's other language that they cut out, but I don't remember what it was. Is that on in your file or whatever you're looking at?
It is. Yeah. So we saw, we kicked its blank. What a knockout of pure fun that was. So that was the Cedric Baldwin. Murray's angry.
Knockout of pure fun.
Yeah. You go get that court order and I will sue your blank for wrongful prosecution.
So when you say blank, did they cut it out completely?
I'm just not using the swear word at all. But the way they changed it to is you go get a court order and I'll sue your fancy face for wrongful prosecution.
Fancy face.
That's right.
Yeah. And they say "oh no" instead of "oh shit" a couple times. And then
Watch
the
your
last
language,
Oh
Scott.
one,
no.
yes, from Ernie Hudson. I have seen some shit that will turn you white. Is
Stuff.
now
He says
Mhm.
stuff.
stuff that will turn you white. Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. Man, completely forgot about that. I'm changing that. We had some good stuff back in the 80s.
We did.
Boy, they
Stuff
taught
that'll
us not
turn
to
you
fucking
white. Whoa,
they sure
whoa.
taught us not how to cuss, didn't they? Fuck them, man. Woo.
They did. They were very aware of the YouTube algorithm.
Yes, they are. All right. So Dan Aykroyd conceived this just blessing of a movie. I mean, what didn't he conceive back in the 80s? Just like Coneheads is his, Blues Brothers is his. That's all from the brainchild of Dan Aykroyd. So he grew up in a very spiritual house. Like his grandfather, and I do want to read this book. His grandfather apparently wrote a book on. I thought I had it. Oh, sorry. His father wrote a book on the like history of ghosts and stuff like that. So I do want to find that and read that at some point. There was he just did a podcast. Why didn't we get him for this? Scott, can you work on that?
Take
He
a
just
note.
did a podcast recently where he talks about like literally growing up in a haunted farmhouse, and having some spooks and specters and stuff happen. So yeah, this was his. So this was his idea. He and Ivan Reitman kind of concocted the idea of doing a movie called Ghost. Oh shoot, I just lost it. What was their original title for this? Do you remember?
No
I'm reading a
ghosts.
little bit now. In early 80s, Aykroyd began working on a script for the film that eventually became Ghostbusters, inspired by his fascination with parapsychology and his belief in ghosts. The script initially included a much greater fantasy element, including time travel, but was toned down substantially through work on the script with Harold Ramis and director
Yes.
Ivan Reitman.
It was
Yeah,
Ghost
so-
Smashers.
Smashers, that's what it was. Yeah, Ghost Smashers.
Ghost Smashers.
But there was also apparently, and I don't remember this, there was a show, a kids show in the 70s called Ghostbusters, separated the name Ghostbusters. So they didn't realize that until they started filming. And at first they were like, "Oh shoot, we can't use the name Ghostbusters because this show already has like the rights to it." They had filmed enough where they had filmed the crowd chanting "Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters!" like in the end at that point, and one of the producers like, "Just do what you got to do. Go get that name for us." And they came back with it. I don't think there's any fantastic story. I'm sure it was just money at that point. But yeah, thank goodness they stuck with Ghostbusters. I'm happy with that.
Thank goodness they had Ecto Cooler.
Oh God, that stuff was so good. So good. Judd Apatow calls this movie a perfect comedy. When you have a comedic genius like Judd Apatow calling this movie a perfect comedy, it's got to say something.
So you had spoke earlier of all of the ad-libbing that was done throughout this film. And the question I posed to you and Scott in the chat was Bill Murray even acting in this movie? Is he just being himself? Or is he just I think he's just being himself. I think they're just like, do whatever the hell you want to do. And they just captured all that from his dancing near the fountain, just his insane lines, the looks that he gives. He is just a gem. I
So
think he was just being himself.
Ivan Reitman actually is quoted as calling Bill Murray the Murricane
The
because of
Hurricane.
just you never knew what you were going to get with him. Like you hear stories now of like, Bill Murray going up to people in the street, taking a fry or covering their eyes, while they're sitting like in New York City saying nobody will ever believe you, and like showing up at like weddings and dances and stuff like that. But he did the same stuff back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. He was just a force. Like when I think it was Aykroyd who picked him up from the airport for this. Aykroyd and Reitman, or Aykroyd and Ramis, I can't remember. But they went to the airport to pick him up for the first day of filming. And Murray gets off the plane with one of those megaphones that plays, 80 different fight songs. And he's just screaming through the airport, playing all these songs. They had to like literally wrestle him from fans that were coming up to him, being like, "Oh, Mr. Murray, oh my God," and like get him to film. Like, I'm sure everything was him in this movie. Like there was a script. There's even a story about Annie Potts getting so pissed at him for being late one day to film. They were in LA. They were doing like one of the firehouse scenes, and she had to use a stand-in. She did her lines with the stand-in, and he comes in over an hour late. The tone on the set is already a little frustrated because he wasn't there. He comes in and he just starts improvising, and Annie Potts actually told him, like, "Knock it off, Murray, knock it off. We're tired of this," and actually got like the little, handful of claps from some of the crew and the cast. And that's when he started like really look at the script. He's like, "All right, I got it," because he couldn't improvise at that point because they'd already done over an hour of shooting. So he had to stand in, one place and then do this, do that, and say whatever he needed to say to fill in those missing holes. So yeah, I am 100% convinced he was just Bill Murray being Bill Murray on this set.
They just kept yelling Peter Venkman at him.
Venkman. This is so good. And it's weird that this is mostly a movie. I shouldn't say mostly. You had Aykroyd and Ramis in this who were on SNL, the original primetime cast. Like they came from SNL. Their roots were at SNL. If you look at every other movie from Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michaels is involved in some facet. He's not involved in this at all. That was one of the articles I read. Like that was just kind of, they wanted to veer away from the SNL feel because they weren't really sure how TV to the movie would go. The studio felt this was a big risk anyway, just because of the money it took, the money they were asking for, and like all the special effects and everything. So I just thought it was odd that, Lorne Michaels could have easily given a ton of money to them for this movie, but they didn't go to him. It's separated from Lorne, which is pretty cool. Good for them.
I think it was better without him.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't John Belushi supposed to be like the original? They thought of him when
They thought of him
first
before
wrote the script.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dan wrote it specifically for him, and then when he passed, he rewrote it for Bill.
Yeah. I mean, he had Belushi in mind for Venkman, pretty much the entire time. So Belushi passed. They had already done 2 movies together, Blues Brothers and Neighbors, right? I think it was just 2 movies. That's off the top of my head. They could have done more, but obviously they were on SNL for the long time together. So he passed. They got Bill at the request of, I think it was Ivan Reitman, said, "Why don't we look at Bill Murray?" Because he had already worked with him on Stripes. Is that right? Did Ivan Reitman direct Stripes? I think he did. I'm getting all my facts confused because I was digging and learning over the past hour. Now everything's all mixed up in my head.
My beautiful picture that's throwing you off.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, he directed.
He's so mesmerized by Rick Moranis.
Yeah, he did direct Stripes. That's kind of where they were together. And then they were looking for a third. And if there were some names being tossed out there, and I have them somewhere as to who else they could get. Ramis, of course, came up because of his work in Stripes. One of them was Goldblum. They talked about getting Jeff Goldblum for this movie. I can't remember who the other ones were. But yeah, thank goodness they went with Ramis on this one. He wanted to play this as straight as possible. He didn't smile. He wanted to be this generation's Spock. So he played this just and when you think about it like that, like Spock never smiled. Spock had like the scientific reasoning for everything, which is exactly how Ramis played this. So I think that was a really good way to play it. All of them
He smiled
were
one time with the scene with Annie Potts.
yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Yes, yes, he did. He smirked a little
Usually
with
very
the Twinkie.
psychic about these things. I have a bad feeling that something terrible's gonna happen to you. I'm afraid you're gonna die.
Why?
And he
Why?
smiled as he
Why?
hugged her.
Why
He
does she
did,
sound like the coffee talk lady that Mike Myers created?
because that's all I got, Tim. I can't reproduce her voice. That's what I
Getting all
got.
verklempt over here.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Rafe Fiennes' name is spelled neither Rafe nor Fiennes. Discuss.
So Belushi was kind of an inspiration behind one of the ghosts in this movie. I'm sure you guys saw that.
I did see that Slimer.
Mm-hmm.
It was right from the scene from Animal House, was it not?
What with
Where he's
Bluto?
jaw. Here, hold on. I believe I
Okay.
read that.
Well, don't show it because we'll get censored.
I'm gonna. Oh, you.
So while you're looking for that, one of the quotes that I found, which I thought was really cool. Who said this? Reitman wanted them to play it like this whole movie incredibly realistic, so that at the end of the movie you would actually believe that there was this 100-foot marshmallow man getting ready to kill humanity and destroy the city. Wanted him to exist.
My God, I just had that.
What did you do, Ray? So they went to Martha's Vineyard while you're looking. It was Ivan
Sorry, I had
Reitman,
this.
Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis. They had a year from start to finish to get this movie out. They wanted it done, so they agreed to the money that was requested by Reitman. So they had a year to do it. Aykroyd came in with this 40+ page script, and they had to really trim it down. So the three of them and their families went to Martha's Vineyard for like 2 weeks, and they would have family fun during the day. In the evenings, the three of them would sit around and write and smoke weed and do what they needed to do. And they this entire script together at Martha's Vineyard in 2 weeks. Aykroyd was very gracious and let them pretty much dissect and redo pretty much the entire thing, because like you said, it was supposed to be a future thing where they were going from like dimension to dimension. It was nothing like what we saw in the actual movie, but they wanted to, like I said, to be a little more realistic. I'm sorry, Ramis wrote all the Murray lines that were in there because he and they worked together for a while. Ramis wasn't on SNL. He was in SCTV, the Canadian version of SNL. But he still was able to write everything. And I do have a great quote. He says, "I've always been able to write well in Bill's voice, who had done the honor several times before, Stripes, Caddyshack, and Meatballs, because I knew certain inane instincts of his," which I thought was pretty cool. All right, did
I
you
did
find it?
find this. Yes, on the set, Dan Aykroyd referred to the Slimer ghost as the ghost of John Belushi. Slimer's gluttonous eating was based on Belushi's cafeteria scene in National Lampoon's Animal House.
So, very, very cool.
And I love the concept
Yeah.
altogether. It's just it's a bunch of friends that got together and had a fantastic idea and hashed it all out, and it ended up becoming this big thing. I love the entire concept of that. Kind of like a few friends starting a podcast so they can, see each other more regularly.
Which is a great idea when we're all free. and healthy.
Mm.
That's
You
not just
guys
for
with
Scott.
you
That's
guys
for
with your
me.
separate
So
lives and your kids and your like you want to do other things. Like I don't get it. I don't get you guys sometimes.
and that's why we love you. What was I gonna say? Oh, Rick Moranis, actually, I found a quote from him. The filming was never they never had a rough time filming. Everybody was always kind of on the same page. One of the things they learned from SCTV with Moranis and Harold Ramis being in SCTV, always try to make the co-stars of your scene better. So you're always trying to set somebody else up. And when you're in a scene with Bill Murray, you almost have to be the setup man for him because he's going to take something and run with it. He's going to think of something a different way and just make it hilarious. So I thought that was pretty cool of Rick Moranis to be like, everybody had a great time. We always tried to set everybody up to be the best that they could be. Like there was no huge egos on this set. Everybody was still relatively new. Like, yeah, they were in some movies at that point. But it was still early, like what Murray had done like 5 or 6 like pretty decent movies.
Yeah.
But this was really the one that kind of catapulted them. Just boom. Everybody's a star after this.
Yeah, him and Dan were the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone else is like, all right. Well, then I mean Sigourney Weaver, she was coming off serious roles. Aliens, like she was Aliens was 86. My bad. Alien 81.
Alien.
Alien.
Singular.
Spectacular though.
Mm-hmm.
So she's coming off that super serious, fantastic role.
Mm-hmm.
And then wants to jump in.
Can we do a welfare check? Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah. Yes, have some.
Good. I'm glad you're still here with us. Just wanted to make sure.
Oh, there's plenty of rolls if you'd like one.
Plenty of rolls? Like bread rolls?
He's eating bread. I imagine with a jar of peanut butter.
Soak up all the saltines and ginger ale in his stomach right now.
No, just obscene amounts of peanut butter.
Where are you putting that peanut butter, buddy? Nope, never mind.
Tim, wrong movie.
So let's talk about who was cast as Lewis Tully before Rick Moranis. Did you guys see that?
No, I did not. Who was cast before?
John Candy
was
cast. So
that would have been cool.
Scott. So the way he wanted to play it, he came in, he wanted to have this thick German accent. He wanted to have 2 Great Danes with him at all times. And he wanted to like just make it over the top goofy. He and Reitman couldn't see eye to eye, and they both pretty much parted ways. Like, all right, that's cool, whatever. Thanks. So Rick Moranis, I have a great quote from him right here. So Rick had heard about this movie, and he was like, he wanted this Lewis Tully role so bad. He said, "Thank God Candy hates it. This is the greatest script I've ever read." So he was waiting in the wings just to play. Like he was born to play this role. He came in with his ideas. Like the apartment scene was pretty much shot in one take. He came in. He wanted his character to be an accountant. He did everything in the apartment scene pretty much ad lib. Like when he's inviting all the guests in and like walking around like talking about the acetaminophen instead of getting Tylenol or whatever he said. Like everything's just from his head. Like he was such a great. He is. I'm not talking like about him like he's dead. He's such a great improv actor. Like that was all him, and Reitman just kind of like put cameras in different angles to make it seem like it was more than one shot, but it was just like one smooth shot as he's walking through the apartment talking to everybody like nonstop. He didn't take a breath. It seemed like he's talking to Ted and Annette Fleming as they walk in the door. What great names. My God.
Smoked
Everybody, this is
salmon
Ted
retails
Annette
at
Fleming.
$24.95. I got mine for $14.72. Like he's just like kirking out about it. But yeah, I had read the same thing that
Right.
it was one shot.
Right.
It's one shot. That's all
Mhm.
they did with that. Wonderful.
While we're in his apartment, the tall lady that got up and said, Lewis, I'm leaving.
Hmm.
Do we know who she is? Do you guys know who she is?
Is she not from Superman 3?
I don't think so. No, she was married to somebody famous who actually kind of had a cameo in this movie.
Hmm. Man. Oh, is it? No, that's not her.
Look at her last name when you find her. I think she's
Oh,
literally
it's
tall
Casey
lady.
Kasem's wife.
Yes, Casey Kasem's wife. So I don't know how she got the gig. I don't know if she was right place, right time. But that's her. That's Casey Kasem's wife. Who again kind of had a part in the movie because he was on the radio. I forget which scene it was, but he's talking about the Ghostbusters saved, this ball or gala, whatever it is, and then the Ghostbusters danced the night away with all the gals there.
Oh
So
yeah.
Casey Kasem actually recorded some stuff for this. I thought that's pretty funny. She's been in a handful of things. I don't know if she was in Superman 3 though.
No, I'm thinking of the wrong person.
Come on.
I know. I failed you.
We're running a podcast here. It's gonna be real
She was
serious
in
stuff.
Darkwing Duck.
That's probably what you're thinking of.
Yeah, yes. I get the two confused
Let's
all the time.
get dangerous.
That was a little
That was a
it was a
great
little
cartoon, man.
Daffy Duck there.
I'm sorry, I get my ducks mixed up when I do
All the
imitations.
ducks are getting confused. All right, so what's your favorite scene? The whole film. What's your favorite scene? I know
You
Timmy
asked
likes the
this,
whole
and I thought,
movie.
I do. Come back to me.
Scott?
I'd go with the scene from the Rick is in my picture presently. I love that scene. The back and forth between Harold and Rick and that scene.
Yes, have some.
Yeah. That
Want
was
some
great.
coffee?
Do I?
Yes, have some.
What's yours, Steven?
So, with what we talked about earlier, with being a little bit scared at some points, like all of the scenes with the terror dogs, I really enjoyed. When they start bursting out of the gargoyle statues, like, and you're just as a kid, you're just horrified. Those are definitely my top scenes. The Gozer scene at the end is super fun too. The final boss fight that they mess up the first. It is. It's the final boss fight.
You're right.
They hit a table instead of her, and then end up conjuring a 100-foot marshmallow man.
What did you do, Ray?
They
God,
didn't.
that
That was all Ray's fault.
that was and all their faces at the end. I know we're kind of jumping around, and I think we're assuming our viewers have seen this movie once or twice. If like Scott said, the quote on our mug here, if you haven't seen Gremlins, you probably won't be watching us. We can input Ghostbusters
Yeah.
in that quote, and it's interchangeable. So I guess we're not going to do the typical like beginning to end. This is just like stuff you haven't heard, which is really cool. But yeah, like where the hell was I going with that? I had something to say. What was I saying? I'm so excited about this movie, damn it.
I wanted to stop in the middle of what we were talking about just to blurt out
I know what it was.
incoherent stuff and just get you lost.
I remember what
Lost
it
in
was
my
now.
excitement.
No, like we see the Ghostbusters keep this such smooth, like they're developing their characters throughout the entire movie, and then at the end, after Ray conjures, like he's thinking of the Marshmallow Man from Camp Wakanda. Remember, like our first or second episode, I couldn't remember the name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. So he conjures up Stay Puffed, and both Ray and Egon makes me laugh every time looking at their faces at the end. Like they're both just scared shitless beyond like any rational thought. Like even Egon has a great line about it. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but he's like, I'm so scared beyond any rational thought. He had no idea what to do. Like both of their faces in the end are great.
Yeah, that was his
But I
line.
think was it
Spengler, I can't talk right now. I'm scared beyond all rational thought.
like I think if I had to choose a favorite, it would be on the rooftop when they're walking towards Gozer, after the first
Oh, that's
time
such
after
a good
everything's
one.
conjured, and it's just awful. I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. Them the four of them, pulling the proton wand at the same time, holding, and it's just so perfect. Like
Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown. But I thought you were going to refer to the quote first when they say "Go get her, Ray," and Dan Aykroyd goes up there. It's just like
he does. He monologues.
goes.
Goes to the Rosarian. There's such like the whole rooftop scene is such a great third part of the like the story. Everything and everything about this, like even right before they go upstairs, they're in the apartment. Like, where do these stairs go? They go up.
They go up.
Little shit like that, like, is just recycled in my brain all day long.
Like, yes, dickhead, they go up. What I mean is,
okay, you first. You go first. Once the lightning hits.
Seeing a couple of wavy lines right now.
Yes.
it's not your day, my friend.
Hey, getting a little tired of this.
You signed up for this, didn't you? We're paying you, aren't we?
You can keep the $5. I will, mister.
That's it, $5. Back in 1984, $5 was actually sort of kind of a big deal.
I'm going backwards in our conversation a bit. I found the paper. So originally they were looking at, the actors for Egon. Christopher Walken came up, John Lithgow, Christopher Lloyd. That's the only one that makes me stop and go, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum.
He would have been more over the top though than Harold Ramis, though, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah. He would have been he would have been from back, his character from Back to the Future, I think. As much as I love Lloyd, he's kind of a one-trick pony.
One Klingon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Klingon.
He was a Klingon.
Yeah, I preferred the Egon that we got.
Oh my God. We could spend an entire episode on Harold Ramis just by himself.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you want to see me cry during a podcast? Let's do that.
No, let's
not
rule anything out.
My God. Here he is. He's on my mug. Nice shooting, Tex. So, I'm gonna drink from Harold. This one's for him.
I didn't realize how vast your Ghostbusters collection had become, Mr. Tim.
Dude, this is a percentage. There's
did you if we go out to his yard right now, there's a 12-foot inflatable Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
I haven't put it out yet. It's been rainy.
Carrie has shaken her head. She's like, God damn you fuckers for making him do this episode.
I got the inflatable Stay Puft. I got the inflatable Ecto-1. They kind of sit out there around Halloween time.
He's got the inflatable.
Goes to the Gozerian.
And that's the stern voice that Tim talks to her in.
So anyway, I think I'm sure some of you found that some of the movie, especially in the beginning, the first day of shooting, they had no permits to shoot like in public places. Did you guys see this?
No permits in public places. No, I did not find that.
Yeah, they were in New York City on the first day of shooting. They didn't have permits yet. Scott, you unmuted yourself. Did you find that?
No, I was just done coughing.
All right. Welfare check on Scott. That's our next quote for the back of the mug. Welfare check on Scott. So, well, according to this, and this is wiki, Ghostbusters has a wiki, guys. That's how big this movie is. It has its own wiki. Apparently, City Hall revoked the permit like right before they started shooting. I hadn't heard that before this. I just heard they didn't get the permit yet. So there is a scene in the movie where Ecto-1 is driving down the road kind of near hold on, near City Hall. Is that right? I don't feel like that's right. Hold on. Yeah, around like just around town near City Hall. There's some security guards in the movie actually chasing Ecto-1 down the street. I have not found that yet. I'm sure it's true because I've heard that in multiple different places. But yeah, and this was something I learned tonight. So after, they spent the day trying to film and trying to do things out and about, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray disappeared for an hour, approached Mayor Ed Koch for help, who was the mayor back in 84, 83, probably 83. Disappeared for an hour, talked to the mayor. Koch had the issue fixed so they could film and drive to Central Park West. So they literally did split to go talk with the mayor to fix things, which I thought was pretty cool.
Lenny.
Murray made that name up right on the spot. He didn't have a name at that point.
And there's his name. He's Lenny.
And it's right, and it's hilarious. And then even the what was it? The Pope came in. Lenny. He calls him Lenny. So it works.
So
man, this movie is so good.
It is. So side note, there was a music video for the song Ghostbusters that featured tons of celebrities who were not in the film. Maybe a Tim favorite of Terry Garr made an appearance in that particular.
Oh my gosh, she looked fantastic in that second and a half in that video. Yeah, I remember Terry Garr. Who else is that? John Candy's in the video.
Chevy Chase.
Danny DeVito.
Al Franken.
Yeah.
George Wendt.
Yeah, for some reason. It's just people who were on the set is what I understand
Falk.
about.
All you stars, come here.
I forgot about that. Right.
It's filming Colombo.
And just...
Melissa Gilbert. Jeffrey Tambor, right. Chevy Chase. All you guys come here. You're going to be in a music video. What? Okay. Terry Garr.
They actually... I forgot about this. They wanted Chevy to play Venkman for a while. They went to him, and Chevy... I think at that point, it sounds like the script wasn't completely rewritten. It was a real serious, real dark script, and Chevy just didn't get it. He didn't want to be part of it. So he turned that one down, which looking at him now, thank goodness. It would have a different feel, I think.
He was starting to get to his height at that point though too. Where he was on his way up for sure.
Yep.
So he could be choosy.
Yes, he could. Yes.
And you saw that the role of Winston was written for Eddie Murphy originally.
So
it was this big expanded part.
Yeah.
And after he backed out for Beverly Hills Cop, they whittled the whole thing down. But I guess they didn't mention a whole lot of that to Ernie Hudson, who signed on to be Winston. He thought he was gonna be like this big part and like this main character, and he was just like, he's just a guy.
So
There's
that
a steady
story,
paycheck, though, right?
he'll believe
Been with
anything you
these
say.
guys for 2 weeks. In that time, he saw shit that would turn you white.
So the story about Eddie Murphy, that's everywhere. Like, we've heard that forever. Ivan Reitman denies that story. Like, even
Really?
in interviews up until his death, he denied that happened. He said, according to Reitman, Eddie Murphy was never offered, never thought about for the part. They had, I guess, Ivan Reitman and Ernie Hudson had met early 70s, I think, on something else, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. So Ernie, once hearing of this movie being made, was kind of, he went in there, he did 5 different auditions. He said they were kind of grueling. If you ask Ivan Reitman, Ernie was the guy for the part, but Ernie is quoted as saying, like, these were tough auditions, and after the 5th audition, 2 weeks went by without a phone call, and all of a sudden they called him, like, hey, we're gonna have you part of it. And they had already started the movie by then. Like, they didn't have him in there. So yeah, I don't know who to believe on that one. Because you have different
that's
stars saying
interesting.
different things. Yeah, I mean, even Aykroyd, I've heard Aykroyd talk about the Eddie Murphy thing, but Ivan Reitman says no. I mean, how many years away from this are we? I'm sure details get forgotten.
We are 40 years off of that movie right now.
Let's
Yeah,
ask
maybe
Eddie.
a
Hey,
detail or
Scott.
two has been forgotten.
No, 100%. But quite honestly, I would go with whatever Dan Aykroyd says. That man's brain is just an autistic steel trap. It's fantastic. The stuff he remembers, even from like 40 plus years ago, that he's done in movies and behind the scenes. It's amazing that he remembers that stuff. We just watched Spies Like Us the other night, which is a great movie in itself, but the lines that he has in that are just, it's all these like big fantastical words, and he just rambles them off like that constantly. It's what he does.
So this is a fun one on IMDb. It
Mhm.
says, though never referred to in the script, the green ghost, the guy's bust in the hotel, was called Onion Head by the crew because of its horrid smell. The scene where the ghost haunts 2 newlyweds showed the characteristic, but was cut. Contrary to popular belief, the name Slimer is not used in the film and was created for the real Ghostbusters cartoon, based off
Mhm.
Venkman's line in the film, "He slimed me." The ghost was only ever referred to as Onion Head and the Ghost of John Belushi by the cast and crew before the creation of the cartoon. But when I was watching it 2 days ago, could have swore they said they didn't call it Slimer,
Mhm.
but that word was said in the film.
Ugly little spud, isn't he? They said that.
No, he said ugly little spud, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna clip that off because I still got the
See,
they definitely said the word Slimer. Not slimed, not spud. They said Slimer, but not referring to the ghost as his name, but just like, oh, one of the like a Slimer.
right.
I could have swore
Hmm.
that was in
So
there. We should
something to
fact
look up.
check me. We should fact check me, but that's what I recall.
Right. We'll have a little scroll at the bottom after we figure it out, after editing's done.
Yes, after editing's done.
Pardon me.
Oh yeah, the term
Sorry.
Slimers is said in the film. It said Slimers is used to identify a kind of ghost. He's not, but that's what I said. It's not called by a name, but they do
Oh,
say
right.
Slimers
Yeah.
in the film.
Aykroyd said that. That was Aykroyd's line. I do remember that. He wasn't he talking to Winston in that scene? I think he was like talking about like the containment unit. What they put in the containment unit. I'm pretty
Yes, and
sure.
the types of ghosts that are in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. And Slimers. Yeah, no, you're right. That's interesting.
It is interesting, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of interesting fellas,
I'm
I
ready
got one
for it,
for you.
Tim. What do you got?
So the special effects company Boss Fight Studios, which was created for this movie originally. Richard Edlund, who had done stuff on hold on, Poltergeist, Indiana Jones Temple. Nope, hold on. Oh, what would he do? What did he do? What did he do? Anyway, Edlund had already been kind of a force as far as special effects goes. So they got him because everybody else was kind of busy doing Temple of Doom and Return of the Jedi. He tried to get ILM to do it, but they were kind of, busy doing other huge things. So Boss Film Studios is what it was called. So they started in 83 and they've done movies like Big Trouble Little China, Die Hard, Batman Returns, and a bunch of other stuff since then. So I thought that was kind of cool. Richard Edlund, whose name has popped up before. Did we talk about him when we did the Indiana Jones stuff? I don't remember if we did, but he was one of the special effects guys for Raiders. I think he did Star Wars too. But that was cool that they had to create their own FX company just to get this movie off the ground because everybody else was busy filming future blockbusters. So I thought was kind of cool. What are you looking at? You look very concerned.
I just saw this, and this is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the little blurbs on IMDb. In 1982, Ivan Reitman, Joe Medjuck, and Michael C. Gross were planning to make a film of the sci-fi novel The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is a fun book. If you've never read it, go stop what you're doing, Tim, and go read it.
Yes, I gotta go.
Douglas Adams wrote 3 drafts per his contract. Douglas Adams wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Medjuck and Gross were considering Bill Murray or Dan Aykroyd to play Ford Prefect. Aykroyd sent them his idea for this movie, and they decided to do it instead. So, meaning they decided to do Ghostbusters movie instead of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie, that is really freaking cool.
Right.
So they were gonna before, because they did a TV series of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was low budget but still very amusing before they did the top dollar budget with top dollar budget with Martin Freeman,
Yeah.
Bilbo Baggins as the main character. But
Warwick
I thought
Davis was
that
in
was really
too.
fascinating. That it was
I
a
saw the
little bit of
series.
it is very English and very old at this point in time. It covers a few of the books because the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is 3 books. I'm sorry, six. I said 6. 6 books. But yeah, I thought that was pretty fantastic to read that they were looking at Bill and Dan to play the main characters in that particular series.
Speaking of stuff that never got off the ground, early 80s, there was a script called Batman with Ivan Reitman attached to direct. I didn't know this until I saw it on the Ivan Reitman Wikipedia page. Ivan Reitman, was going to cast Bill Murray as Batman, which I remember hearing he was one of the names being tossed out there for the 89 Batman. Like him, it was Tom Hanks. It was, think about it, it was the big draw, the big name draws of the late 80s who were being thrown out there. So Bill Murray was going to be Batman, David Niven as Alfred Pennyworth, William Holden as James Gordon, and singer David Bowie as the Joker. You got me on that one. There were a bunch of deaths. Holden and Niven, they had both apparently passed. I remember looking them up, but it still didn't really ring a bell. Rewrites. Reitman left and he was replaced by Gremlins director Joe Dante, But the film was never made. I thought that was an interesting little tidbit that I
Did you
found.
see that? Did you see that Michael Keaton turned down the both of the roles of Peter Venkman and Egon Spengler?
Keaton did?
Yeah,
No, that's what I was going to ask you guys if you found any of that stuff, because right before we started, I realized like that's one of our big things. I love talking about that, but I never looked up, who could have been in whatever role. So
Michael
Keaton
Keaton.
was offered. That's what it says.
He turned down both the roles of Dr. Peter Venkman and Dr. Egon Spengler. And isn't it
What?
funny that in the entire film, Egon is never referred to as doctor?
Well, that's partially a joke from Venkman, especially in the beginning. No, he's not. Yes, he is. I might have to owe you a crunch bar after this because I'm going to look that up.
The crunch bar
Huh.
that Venkman hands to
Mm-hmm.
Spengler?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't
Mm-hmm.
believe he
But
is referred to as doctor in the entire film, especially in the beginning when they were introducing themselves in the library. I'm Dr.
yeah,
Venkman. This is Dr. Stantz.
Dr. Stance,
Egon.
Egon, that was just Bill being Bill, just being hilarious. Hilarious. Just the little stuff like that. Like when you're a kid, you don't hear those jokes. You don't see the bits like that. I need to look up Michael Keaton. What had he been in that he was so popular in
Johnny
82, 83?
Dangerously, Timmy. Johnny
And
Dangerously.
I'm thinking, I thought of that, and I thought of Night Shift with Henry Winkler. But seriously, like, what? Why would he turn this down? That's so weird.
Oh no, Johnny Dangerously
Huh.
was the same year, 84.
Oh, so maybe he was a little busy doing other stuff. So he was really good in that movie.
Oh, he was Mr. Mom in
Interesting.
83. Yeah, Night Shift in 82.
Okay, so Mr. Mom was um before Ghostbusters. So that's
Yes.
I would say that's probably why they wanted him, because Mr. Mom was big. Mr. Mom was a good movie. You know who else was in Mr. Mom? Terry fucking Gar. Mm.
Who?
No,
Don't who me.
know who else was in this
Mm.
movie, gentlemen?
Ah.
Terry motherfucking Gar.
Guys, I need to watch
Wow.
Mr. Mom tonight. Do not call me for an hour and a half after we're off. Watching Mr. Mom.
Carrie, stay upstairs. You won't like what you see.
Oh man.
Well,
So I'm running low on facts because like I said, I scaled down a lot. One thing I did want to say, Ivan Reitman provided the voices of Slimer and Zool,
yes, I saw
which I thought
that.
was pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
There is no
Um,
Dana, only Zool.
do you guys have any more fun facts before I kind of go through just the cast list?
So I guess just a couple of fun things that I noticed after, watching it 2 days ago and not having seen it for years. So
Mhm.
watching it as a kid, like, oh, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I've never heard of the brand Stay Puft Marshmallows. But when Dana Barrett first takes her groceries out and puts them on the counter and puts the eggs down, she puts a pack of Stay Puft Marshmallows right
Mhm.
next to the eggs, and I'd never noticed that before. I was 2 days. It was 2 days prior to today
Mhm.
that I noticed that for the first time ever after seeing this movie umpteen times. So I thought that was
Mhm.
pretty cool. Like, okay, so they added this in the film. That's very nice.
So that wasn't a real brand. They made that up for this
Yes,
movie.
they made it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
thought it was
Okay. The
cool that it was packaging in marshmallows that she had.
featured. Yeah, it was
And
featured like
they
early.
and she cheated it right towards the camera so that we could all see it as the viewers and didn't
Yeah.
place it in a normal fashion.
Yep. Um,
I liked the
there's a
cinematography.
quote, and yeah,
Like so the first scenes were
Is that
the
okay?
librarians coming down the stairs in the old library and going through all of the old aisles, where the camera's following her. There's a lot of nice continuous shots there, which were awesome. But then when the guys come down to inspect, it's the similar shots that they're taking. I thought that was really nice and cool.
Mhm.
Where they're
Yeah.
trying their best to ignore the camera and just go do their thing.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. One of the I was gonna say there's a quote, and Carrie's gonna Chekhov. Is that a name that you guys recognize?
Star
From Star
Trek.
Trek.
Yeah, not Star Trek. I'm gonna say who with question mark. So there's a quote. One I think it's an author that Carrie likes, and I've heard her say this a few times. Like if you're writing a mystery or a movie or something, if you show a shotgun above the fireplace in like Act One, you damn well better use it in Act Three, and that's exactly what they did with the Stay Puft Marshmallows. Like they're showing the it's called Chekhov's gun. I guess that's a thing. I'm sorry, Carrie, don't divorce me because I don't really know that well. So yeah, if you show something in a movie, it's got to have some importance. You got to bring it back around. You got to show it again. It's how to have some connection, and they did such a good job with that.
Carrie comes running down the stairs. Tim gets dragged off
I know.
camera.
You did it wrong.
I'm
I
waiting for it to
quickly hit
wreck
cut.
my display.
But I heard a woman scream. That was Tim being dragged bodily. Oh my God, I can't even believe you have that.
Gotta get my hand out of what? Yes, you can. You can believe it.
She's no Terry Gar, but
That is very true.
Another
So,
fun piece was around like the Evo Shandor. Like one of the things I learned while I was doing the research, like they're supposed to be interdimensional travelers, right, in the very original script.
Mhm.
And Evo Shandor was the guy who was supposed to hire them. But then, of course, they used him as the designer. Wasn't he the architect of the building? And then,
yes.
of course, they
Yeah.
find him out in the tomb in Afterlife. But
Yep.
quote unquote.
Interesting.
A little fascinating storyline around him.
Good. I like that. Anton Chekhov. He's a Russian writer. There you go.
He
See,
also
kids,
flew the Starship
you're all
Enterprise.
learning. That was Yelton. Was that his first name? Yelton Chekhov? Or am I making that up?
You're going off the cuff now.
Am I really making that up?
Yeah.
Dang it. What was this? All right. We got to get this. Anton Chekhov. Nope, wrong Chekhov. Anyway, all right. Maybe that'll be another disclaimer at the bottom of our final product here. All right. So we talked about Murray, Aykroyd, Sigourney. We didn't really talk much about Sigourney yet. I mean,
No.
she was mentioned a few times. So in her interview, she barked like a dog and crawled all over the couch because she read the script.
Wow.
And Ivan Reitman actually said, "Please don't do that again." After she was done doing her casting, just trying to get the gig. But they cast her because, like you said, she was a name. Like she was a pretty big name.
Yes.
Just in the industry, even that early. So we got Sigourney, and it was her idea. What did she change? She changed the script off the cuff and called him, a game show host. Called Bill Murray a game show host instead of, I think it was written as a used car salesman, but she didn't really feel like that fit. So that was one of the many contributions that she gave. And she was, this is something I learned too. She was actually in a sealed burnt dog suit. So there really was a sense of urgency to try to get her out, both her and Rick Moranis out, which I thought was pretty cool. Like making it as real as possible, like trying to get them out of the costumes. Like you only see Moranis with
the head on
him. Yeah.
Somebody help that little guy.
Actually in a sealed costume. But that was kind of neat. Like they sealed her in there, so they were really trying to break her free to get her out. I thought that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
Annie Potts as Janine. We talked about her a bit. William Atherton as Walter Peck.
So I was reading he was a little reviled because he was such a jerk in the film. Hold on, I'll go back to
he was a
what it
total
actually
dick in
says on the
this.
IM. Yeah, totally.
And then he essentially played that same character in Die Hard 2, like just a complete asshole.
After the film's release, William Atherton became reviled. When he was running into director Ivan Reitman one day, he was furious and upset by how people treated him. He told him that he couldn't even go into a bar without people wanting to pick a fight with him. In another incident, Atherton was walking down a stretch of 7th Avenue in New York City, which was entirely crowded with school buses, when he heard lots of children shouting at the top of their lungs, "Hey, Dickless."
Wow.
That's fantastic. Children who were able to make it through, the movie, unlike me as a child. Good for them, assholes.
Wow.
Children screaming, "Hey, Dickless." That's awesome. So we got Atherton, we got Ernie Hudson. Ernie's got a lot to say about this movie.
He
We
does.
didn't
He was
cover
not
him.
pleased. He was not
No,
pleased.
we didn't cover him a lot, and I think maybe might be best to stay away from a lot of the stuff he said, because sometimes in interviews he'll go back on things he said. I don't know if you guys have heard that or not. There was an early interview. We're going to fast forward a little bit. Interview with the Ghostbusters remake in 2016. Him saying, once he heard there was going to be an all-girl remake, he was pretty famously quoted, at least famously in my nerd world, as saying, like, this is unnecessary. That doesn't need to be an all-girl remake. This is just, what's the point? And then he was cast in the movie as a cameo, and he went back and said, they're doing a great job. They did great. And I've heard him say things about the original movie, like it took him many, many years to kind of get over the fact that he's not used in any of the original promotional stuff, which that's a fact. He felt it was kind of racism, I guess, played a part in it. Maybe not so much Ivan Reitman, but more the studio. Like, I don't think he goes after the guys, the cast and Reitman and anybody like that. But I felt like he's harboring some pretty strong feelings towards not being included in a lot of the stuff. He was actually kicked off of the red carpet because nobody recognized him. Both him and Annie Potts were kicked off of the red carpet originally because nobody recognized him at first. That found that while I was digging through some stuff today. I thought that was pretty interesting. That's not a racism thing. That's just like not recognizing. He was my first celebrity I've ever met. At Monster Mania, Hunt Valley, 2007.
In Hunt Valley,
6,
no
7,
less.
something like that.
You had to drive 20 minutes.
Yeah, Hunt Valley, Maryland. Yeah, oh, dude, right up the road. So he was Rob Zombie's Halloween had just come out, so I think that was 2007. They had pretty much the entire cast. They had Dee Wallace, they had Michael Gross, and Ernie Hudson. I went for Ernie, and then I looked around. I was like, holy shit, I found my people. It's just convention life is my life. But yeah, Ernie I've met a handful of times. It's pretty. He's a hell of a guy. He gets in the jumpsuit when he does the shows and everything. It's pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, but now he's got some things to say about this. Maybe we can get him on one day. I think could be attainable. Just work at it a little bit.
Does Harrison know him?
Check. Can you check?
Yeah. Harrison will come over today.
Yeah, I guess he can't get sick. He can't get sick.
Why are you
Ernie
keeping
Hudson.
me here?
David Margulies is the mayor, who is not related to Juliana Margulies. I looked that up because for the longest time I thought they were related. Let's see. Stephen Tash and Jennifer Runyon as the students in the beginning. Slot Visa Jovan as Gozer. She was a professional dancer back in the day. Slot Visa Jovan. I believe I'm saying that right.
There's
Uh,
Ron Jeremy made a cameo appearance in there.
Ron Jeremy has his cameo. Roger
He was so
Grimsky has a
huge
cameo. Larry King,
at the
Casey
time.
Kasem. He was. He's in jail. He can rock. Now, he's not a nice dude. Not a nice dude at all.
Turns out.
Let's see.
I see somebody hiding in your background. I think she just tried to take your proton pack, Tim.
Don't you do it? I don't see you. I think you're making things up.
You don't see her now, but she got what she wanted.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Jean Kasem is credited as tall woman at a party. That's hilarious.
Tall woman at a party. She was huge, especially standing next to Rick.
Right. Just for a hot second about Reginald Bell Johnson.
Can we please, for the love of God, the only cameo in this film that matters? He's a cop in literally everything he does.
Right. And I did look it up. This is the first thing where he's a cop. He wasn't a cop before Ghostbusters. So Reginald Bell Johnson, for those who don't know, the father in Family Matters, the Al in Die Hard, the cop that helps out. Yeah, typecast as a cop for pretty much everything after this. And can we take a second? Because I thought it was if he didn't have a character name, but he did. Can we see this? He is Officer Tim Carlson.
Tim Carlson. There he is.
He has a name. He has a name. I actually just got this in the mail the other day. He did a convention out in LA, 90s con. So it was like, you know, the whole cast of Family Matters was there apparently. Along with
he has a home in
folks.
Raleigh.
Does he really?
He has a home in Raleigh.
Get him for our show. We love this man.
We do.
You want me to stalk this man? And got it. Okay. I'm on board. All right, we can do this.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, he was.
Let's see.
He was our childhood, like growing up. Like Full House came on, and then Family Matters came on. You stayed and watched them both, and it was awesome.
He was one of our fathers.
Yep. Yes, it's true.
He was definitely one of our fathers. Kimberly Herron as the Dream Ghost, who
Playboy Playmate.
Also a Playboy Playmate. Yep. So she actually just passed away not that long ago. Miss Kimberly Herron. Let's see if I can get that on here. Doing my best without the glare.
You got lots of glare, but we see the signature.
Yeah. She was the Dream Ghost. So good on her. Yeah, R.I.P. Miss Herron.
Larry King's first film role.
Is it really?
Yes.
That's kind of cool. Oh, you know what? Another guy I met who was actually in the suit, Billy Bryan.
The puffed Marshmallow Man suit?
Yeah, so he was in the suit. He told us there's one scene that wasn't supposed to be filmed when they were actually they're practicing getting ready for the scenes. So they did, went through the motions, got everything done. There's one scene where you don't see the bow tie, the red bow tie. That was never supposed to make it into the movie. So that's just like a continuity error, pretty much. What else did he say? He told us something really cool. Something about the burning, like he almost literally died, I think. I think that was him or maybe the stunt double. Because they set that thing on fire. You can see it. Like in that scene, like that thing went up in flames quick.
Well, that was the Ghostbusters versus the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. They shoot him with the proton packs once. And then he doesn't visibly die, but they completely ignored him from that point on. They're like, we did what we were supposed to do. They set him on fire and just assumed he would die a horrific death. They turned around and didn't think about him again.
Well, they realized it wasn't working, and then they had to figure out don't cross the streams. Now they got to cross the streams, and then you see you see his head pop up. He finally
Yeah.
climbs. He scales the building as they cross the streams, and he has the oh shit face.
But that wasn't even for
before,
that.
you know, he's obliterated.
Yeah, that was just to get the door to open the other way. Like I thought that was hilarious. They shoot him once. Well, he's on fire now. All right, let's fix this door and get on out of here. Like, oh
Door
my
swings both
God,
ways.
you set him on fire.
Let's talk about Elmer Bernstein just for a hot second. This just the music from this movie, perfect. Like just like the kind of high pitched piano, the light piano.
Who had the
Kinda
soundtrack
almost like
on cassette?
oh
Yeah.
I think I had
Rick
I had
Moranis
CD. I
is
didn't have
raising
cassette.
his hand too.
Well, I feel like you would have to. Yeah, Elmer Bernstein. That was a great soundtrack. And at the end of the soundtrack, you got like a 7-minute long, just almost instrumental version of Ray Parker's Ghostbusters. Do you remember that? Did you listen to it that long, or did you kind of turned it off at that point?
My favorite song was when the storage facility blows up and all the ghosts start going around town. You start hearing the
please,
yes,
please. Funny
I believe
story.
it's magic.
Those two guys, I don't remember what their names are. It's two brothers. They wrote that song. They just did Ghostbusters Day this past summer in New York City. It's like the third year in a row. Like the organizers kind of get everything together and hold a fundraiser for the firehouse. So they got those two guys to perform that song in front of the firehouse. They're sitting there, you know, one's got the keyboard, one's got the acoustic guitar. It was pretty funny to see. I wasn't there. I wish I was. But I did see the live streaming because I'm a
Very
nerd.
nice. Because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, man. This movie is just all sorts of perfect. And we could do a whole nother podcast on it and still take up an hour and a half. Pretty much what we did tonight. And maybe we can hear some Scott stories next time.
That would be nice.
Scott, welfare check. There he is.
I heard a grumble. He's there.
that was Harrison. Oh man, yeah, this movie is just all sorts of perfect. And
So we could always do another one with the sequels, and
we could. I think Ghostbusters 2 and maybe the Ghostbusters video game could do their own, being like a combined thing.
Which Ghostbusters video game, Tim? There were several.
The video game, which essentially was Ghostbusters 3 with the original guys.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Nintendo Entertainment System one. That was a pretty fun one.
No.
I mean, there's lots of video games that came from the Ghostbusters, Tim.
I'm talking about the one with the original characters coming back, providing the voices. We had Alyssa Milano in that one. Everybody else was original. Sigourney wasn't in it. No Rick. But yeah, we had Alyssa Milano, the four guys. Brian Doyle Murray was the mayor in the video game, which I thought was interesting because he's got that gruff, very recognizable voice. Anyway,
I didn't realize he was Bill Murray's brother.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
He's got like 5 or 6 brothers, right? There was one of his brothers was in Scrooged. Another one of his brothers was actually in the Ghostbusters 2016. He made a quick cameo. Yeah,
Joel Murray.
He's got a few brothers, but Joel Murray was the one in Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, I just never knew that.
Yeah, Brian Doyle. I think he is the second most successful of the brothers, I would have to assume.
Well, he was the boss on Christmas Vacation.
And he was in Scrooged. He played his father. He played Frank Cross's father in that flashback.
That's right, 5 pounds of veal.
yes. Gentlemen, are there any closing remarks about this perfect, wonderful movie?
I don't think so. I thought this was pretty fun.
hmm This is a great movie. One of my favorites of all time. And I think we all should make a pilgrimage to watch it more often than every 10 plus years.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The papers are gone.
He threw the
I'm out of
papers, folks.
ideas.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to our very long love letter to Ghostbusters this evening. Very much appreciated. And we hope you have a fantastic evening. Thanks, boys.
Thank you. And scene.
That's where
Nice.
I'll cut it.
Yeah.
Like that
was
that
beautiful.
that end scene point.
Good. Good. This was good.